Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, I've got a very special guest. She is an Asian Games medalist, a World University Games champion. She's an NCAA All-American, and this season in the ISL, she was on fire for Energy Standard. Coming to us today from Hong Kong, please welcome Siobhan Haughey.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad we could make this work. You're currently like 14 hours ahead of me.
Yeah.
You're in Hong Kong right now. Obviously, you represent them internationally. Your parents live there, but give me the situation. What have your last few months looked like? Let's say since the Budapest bubble, have you been in Hong Kong the whole time?
Yeah. So I actually was in Michigan at the beginning of 2020. But then once COVID hit, I left Michigan at the end of May and came back to Hong Kong. And since then, I've been training there until October when I left for Budapest. And we were there for 6 weeks. And then afterwards, I came back to Hong Kong. We have a 2-week quarantine. I have to go through a 2-week quarantine after I came back. And then I've been training here. But Hong Kong is currently in our 4th wave of COVID. And so we're kind of in lockdown again. And so all the pools are closed except the pool that I train in, which is the pool at our sports institute. And what the sports institute is basically like most of the Hong Kong elite sports train there. And we have like different training venues, and we have like the gym, trainers, nutritionists, sports science, everything like that. And they're also athlete hostels. So our sports institute is in lockdown right now. So we're not allowed to leave. And it's very, very hard to get back into it after you leave. So I've been there since end of December. So I've just been training there. Yeah.
That sounds like quite a facility, but also, I mean, like you said, you're kind of stuck there. You have to be there for a while. You were able to see your parents on the holidays. At the top of the podcast, I'd be remiss if I did not mention this. Siobhan is also the 2020 recipient of the Asian Female Swimmer of the Year Swammy Award. So in 2020, Siobhan was the Asian female swimmer. Obviously, there were a lot of great performances, but you put up some pretty stellar ones throughout this very odd 2020. I want to get into those in a little bit, but back to your training. Since you've been in this, national team complex, what has it been like? Take me through just kind of the day to day.
Yeah. So I still work really closely with my coach in Michigan, Rick Bishop. So basically every day he sends me practice and our workouts. And so I just do them. And we have a Hong Kong team coach here who kind of is in charge of it. He like runs us through a practice, but I'm still doing workouts from my coach in Michigan. And in my team, we have like a group of 6 people roughly. So me and this other girl from Michigan, Jamie, we both came back at the same time. So we're used to Rick's program. And then we have a few other people who also came back from either the US or, some other parts of the world. So we've kind of created our own training group, and it's been really fun. Like it's kind of different and refreshing, even though I'm doing the same workouts, something similar, but I have new people to train with, and I'm training with guys right now so that, it's fun and competitive. And yeah, it's, I wish that I was back in Michigan, but I think this is, I'm still very grateful that I still get to train, and I have a pool, I have access to the gym. So things aren't really that different than when I was in Michigan. And yeah, we train 10 sessions in the pool, and we have 3 sessions in the gym. And then we incorporate dry land, some core, sometimes some yoga into our training as well. So we kind of do a lot of different things.
I was about to ask about what you do when you're not training, but that sounds so busy. Do you even
Um,
have time that you're not training?
well, during the week, if I'm not training, I'm probably napping or sleeping.
God.
But we actually, our sports institute have been in lockdown for a few times now, so this is our third lockdown. So I've spent so many hours at our sports institute, and on the weekends when we're not training, we try to, you know, try new different sports. Like we've been playing badminton, volleyball, frisbee, because all the top athletes in Hong Kong are there. So, why not just take this opportunity and ask them to teach us about their sport? So it was great, and it's like really fun as well. And since we're in lockdown, we're locked in like a very small venue. There's not much that we can do. So we just try to relax, and I've been watching a lot of movies with my teammates. So that's also fun.
So I love talking movies. I'll try not to go down a rabbit hole, but have you had any favorite movies that guys have watched lately?
Oh, we have been watching different horror movies late at night. So we've watched Insidious 1, 2, 3. We've seen
Ooh.
The Oculus, Annabelle. Um, I think there's like a few more horror movies that we watched. We started watching like the Marvel series.
Mm.
So we're on our second one right now. We just finished Captain America and Iron Man, um, and just like tons of different sorts of movies. Yeah.
Nice. That yeah, definitely good time to watch like those big series that have 20 plus movies or just horror movies in general,
Yeah.
like you said. Nice. Are you so can you go outside at all, like even for walks or something like that?
No, we're not allowed to go out for walks. We're not allowed to order food delivery. So there's a canteen there that we basically eat all of our three meals there. If your friends and relatives can come and like drop you off some daily supplies, but for the most part, we're pretty much locked in the campus, and it's I mean it's not small, but it's also not that big, so we don't get a lot of freedom.
Wow. And so then do you know the plan for how long you will be locked down there for?
No idea. It's kind of indefinite until the government says pools would be open outside, then most likely our sports institute would also open up, but it really depends on like government policies and their call. Yeah.
Interesting. How do you feel about that right now? I mean, I know you said you were grateful to be training, but do you ever get a little stir crazy, or does that give you anxiety at all, or have you been able to do you feel like you've been able to deal with that pretty well?
I think it's at certain times it's definitely a little hard since I've been in lockdown basically since July last year. Um our first sports institute lockdown, I was in there for almost 50 days. And then I got like 3 to 4 weeks out before I left for ISL Budapest for another 6 weeks. And then I came back for a 2 week quarantine. And then I went straight back to our sports institute lockdown. And then I got a few days off for Christmas, but then right before the New Year's, we have to go back in again. So it's just sound like I've been spending a lot of time indoors. Um, not doing too much apart from swimming. So at times I felt like it's very repetitive. I do the same thing every day. I see the same people every day. I just basically go to the pool, the gym, my room, the training center every day. So it's like sometimes it does feel like I just wanted to get out, but I also understand like this is probably the best situation I can get out of the current, pandemic. Like I have a pool to train in. I have, very supportive teammates here. I have great coaches who's willing to work with me, and the Olympics is only a few months away, so I think I just want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to be ready for the Olympics, um and I know I have like teammates here who are going through the exact same thing with me. So we're all in this together. So it's nice knowing that, I can rely on them and I can rely on my coaches. And if I ever feel like I really need a break, like, I could always, it's always nice, like, that I could call my parents and talk to them and, like, at least know that they're still there. And if I really miss outside food or anything, they could always bring me food. So, like, sometimes it's hard, but I think, I'm very grateful that I could still train right now.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it does seem like a great situation given the circumstances globally and also leading into the Olympics.
Yeah.
You lock yourself in a training facility and you get to put in some good work, I would
Yeah.
assume. Um, how let's back it up to, I guess, when they did postpone the Olympics. How did you feel about that postponement at the time, and how are you feeling about it now? We're about 6 or 7 months out. How you felt about that extra year you've gained?
Yeah, I was definitely a little disappointed at first because since January 2020, I've been racing and training really well. So I think that if I kept up with my training and everything, I could probably have some really good times at the Olympics and swim pretty fast. But then, like, I talked to my coach about it and he was like, hey, like, that's actually a good thing. Now that you get an extra year, you get to train harder, you get to gain more racing experience, and hopefully you'll swim even faster in 2021. And when they postponed the Olympics at that time, I already didn't really have a pool to train at. My training was definitely not ideal. So I'm actually, now that I think about it, I'm actually glad they postponed it, and just for everyone's safety. And it's very hard bringing everyone traveling from different all over the world to go into one place, and it's probably not the safest thing at that moment. But um so I definitely agreed that they postponed it. And since then, when after I got to train again, I've been training pretty well. I've also been racing pretty well. So I'm just hoping that this continues and I can definitely see some great results at the Olympics.
Yeah, let's get into some of this great racing. So I know you had a couple time trials. Is that right?
Yeah,
Were
yeah.
those before the ISL?
Yeah, those were probably in over the summer in August, I think. August,
Okay.
September. Yeah.
So leading into those time trials, just give me a brief rundown of how training was going at that time for you.
Yeah, so I really started training again in June. And been doing the same thing, uh training with my Michigan coaches workouts. But since I kind of stopped training for 2.5 months to 3 months, it definitely took a while before I can get back into it again. But I think after a few weeks, like 3 weeks or so, that's when I really started seeing like how well my training has been going. And we originally have a meet in Hong Kong in August, but that got canceled. So then instead of the meet, they decided to make it into like a time trial. Um, and so I swam the 200 free. And I really didn't know what I was expecting because I haven't raced it in so long. And and I was the only one who was swimming in the 200 free. So it was just me in the race. And it's kind of weird swimming by yourself because you can't pace yourself off of everyone and you don't actually know how fast or how slow you're going. So I was really surprised with my time. I think I went a best time. Um, and it was great seeing that because I think at that point I've only started training for like 2 months. And being able to go a best time after the year that I had was really encouraging. And I think that definitely gave me a lot more confidence heading into like ISL and heading into like the Olympic year.
Yeah. So to give some context, you went a 154.44, 200-meter freestyle long course. That broke your own Hong Kong record of 154.9. So you dropped half a second, which
Yeah.
is, like you said, significant. Um, is that the only race you were able to swim at those time trials?
So now that I think about it, I think we had two different time trials. This was the second one.
Hmm.
The first one I did 100 free and like 100 fly just for fun. I think in my 100 free I went pretty close to my best time as well. I think I went like a 53
4.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my 100 fly, which I never swim. I think I did like a 59.8 or 59.9 or something like that. Yeah.
Dude, 59.9. You broke a minute.
Yeah. And I think I did the 100 free first and then the 100 fly. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you probably would have gone like 57 low,
Oh,
56 high,
easy.
and
Yeah.
100 fly
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
you reverse that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to race a couple times long course that summer. Um, I mean, after just kind of looking back on those races, how did you feel about them at the time, and also how how do you think those couple months out of the water impacted them?
Yeah. So while I was not training for like 2.5 months, I did a lot of dryland workouts. So I did a lot of hit yoga. Um, I have a few dumbbells that I could kind of do like a lifting program as well. Um, and I was still in Michigan at that time, and it was still kind of like winter. But me and my other teammate, we bought wetsuits from Amazon, and we have a lake that's near our campus. So a few times a week, we dive into the lake and start swimming. It was really, really freezing. It was like 12 degrees Celsius. I don't really know what that's in Fahrenheit, but it was really
Oh,
cold anyway.
yeah.
And we could only be in there for like 15 minutes, and then our fingers and toes just get so frozen. But at least we get to kind of swim, I guess. Um, but I think because I did all of that, I kept up with my aerobic system, and at least I'm not sitting around and doing nothing. I'm still like moving around and like working my muscles. So I think the transitions between all that dryland workout to the pool was a little bit easier. Um, and after not swimming for so long, I was just so happy to get back into a pool again. So I think that definitely helped with the first few weeks of training when you're just like grinding and putting in the hard work. And even though you're so sore every day and you just, everything just feels weird, but I was just really happy that I get to swim again. So after all of that and seeing how I did at the time trials, I was really happy, and like I'm glad I was back in the pool. I'm glad I get to race again, and that definitely gave me a lot more motivation moving forward. And yeah, I was really pleased with my results.
Uh, to give our listeners a little context, 12 degrees Celsius is about 54 degrees Fahrenheit. That is so cold for
Cold,
water.
yeah.
Uh, I'm a little stuck on that. Do you really feel like that helped?
Uh, yeah, maybe I think so. Well, we put on fins and we brought like a kickboard, and we were just like kind of kicking up and down and then like sprinting because it was really, really
Okay.
cold.
Uh-huh.
But we also did like, some hit workouts before we got into the pool, so at least we're a
Mhm.
little bit warmer and we're a little warmed up. Um, but I think, yeah, at least like you don't lose the feel of the water. So maybe it helped, maybe it didn't, but yeah, it was a different experience swimming in a very cold lake.
I think that's yeah, I think that's the story of the year is that everyone just got a lot of different experiences. It seems like a lot of people are better off for it.
Mhm.
And in some cases, like yours, their times are showing it.
Yeah.
Um, so let's get to ISL. You get to the Budapest bubble. You were on the DC Trident in season one. You switched to Energy Standard season two. Did you know anyone on the Energy Standard team heading into this second season?
No, not at all. I mean, I know of them. They're all,
Yeah.
amazing swimmers, but I didn't know anyone. So I was a little worried at first just because I was thinking, oh no, I have no friends. But everyone was super, super nice and they're all very fun to be around. They're all very funny and they train hard, race hard, but they also like to relax and enjoy. Like it really made me realize that these top swimmers, they're all just human and they're just like everyone else. Like they like to have a good time and they don't take themselves too seriously. So I really, really enjoyed being on Energy Standard.
Yeah. So you get there and like we've said, like our audience probably knows is it's a 6 week training camp competition bubble situation. Tell me about the routine, or if you did you establish a routine over those 6 weeks of, how you prepared for race day, how you prepared not on a race day?
Yeah, so Energy Standard had a pretty um interesting schedule where we had our first meet and then we had a 2 week training block before we had like 5 meets in a row. So during those 2 week training block was probably the hardest because all of us already raced once, but and in our minds we're like, oh, we should be in racing mode, but then we're training and we're doing like 11, 12, 13Ks a day. So it was like a little hard to adjust at first, but it was also fun training with new people. Sometimes I was doing my own workouts and sometimes I was training with Energy Standard and sometimes they're doing my workouts. So it was fun. Like we're all just like trying new things. And I was training with like the middle distance group, so like a few of us kind of formed our own group. So it was really fun. And then the other challenge would be having 5 meets in a row and we only had roughly 2 or 3 days apart between each meet. So it was it really taught me how to like recover and be prepared for each races. And we had a few meets where we had to race at 10 in the morning. So I tried out different things and see what worked best for me. And I realized that I like to wake up a few hours before, like a little earlier than I would normally do, so that I could, have breakfast and then go outside and take a walk, even if it's just for like 15, 20 minutes to wake myself up, get some fresh air. Um, and then I like to just relax a bit in my room. And I feel like that's the best way to wake myself up instead of waking up like 2.5 hours before a race, have breakfast, and go straight to the pool. I like
Mm.
to make sure that I'm actually prepared and ready when I arrive at the pool. And then I just go through my normal pre-race routine at the pool, like dry land, some warm up, and then pool warm up and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. And yeah, the schedules were pretty wild. Just looking at each different teams, the discrepancy, and especially Energy Standard. You guys did have that first one, and then 2 weeks, and then a bunch of racing, all on the back half. Who were you training with in that mid distance group with Energy Standard?
Yeah, so it was it was me and then Mary, Emily Seabaum, Chad, Kreger, Vicky, just like a bunch of us. And then some people would join us, some people would sometimes switch to sprint. So it's a good group of us, and we had a lot of fun.
Was there a workout that stands out to you?
Um, I just remember one day we did 12 200s, which they so everyone else did like two moderate, one fast, and I did something a little different where I did like the first one fast, the second one 150 fast, 50 easy, the third one I did 100 fast, 100 easy, and I did that 4 times through. So that was a very to me it was like a kind of long workout, but for some reason that stuck out to me.
That's intense. Do you feel like you did well on that set?
I started off pretty strong, but then I started off my first 200 with a 206 long. They're all long course,
Okay.
206, and then kind of slowly died off. But yeah, it was just training. So
Yeah. And again, I've found this so fascinating because it was such a different situation than most people are used to. How did you kind of balance that training versus racing, getting prepped for race day, especially like, you were going best times routinely or hitting times that were like right at your best almost every time you got, hit the water. What was your prep like in terms of, were you coming down? Were you going up in training?
so I didn't really come down before I left for ISL. Um, I think the biggest thing was definitely putting in the work in the 2 week training block that we had between our first meet and our second meet. Um, and like it's a little weird because you keep thinking you should be racing, but then you're actually training and you're swimming a lot. So your body was like couldn't at first my body just couldn't really adjust to what I was doing. Um, but then once we had our, huge racing block, like 5 meets in a row, I made sure I did a lot during warm down. So I just kept swimming so that I'm kind of still keeping my aerobic system up. Since I do the 100 and also the 400. Um, and I think, yeah, just like keeping my aerobic system up, but make sure I'm not like overworking myself. If I feel like my body's getting really tired, then that's when I stop and I, go see a massage and make sure I'm working on my recovery and everything. And I think the reason why I could maintain my performance was because after each meet, I go back and I look at the racing videos with my coach and people from Energy Standard, and they kind of tell me like what I have to work on. And I think just really fixing those details and it could be just like doing one less kick off the wall or doing one more kick or, how my streamline, like how long I should hold a streamline, like just the tiniest things could definitely make a big difference at the end. And just like working on those details. Yeah, I don't think there's like any secret, but it's just like, just working on the tiny things. Yeah.
Yeah, especially I'm guessing, and from what I've heard from other athletes who are in the bubble, you race so much, you kind of get into your rhythm and you get dialed in, and at that point it's not about, getting a ton more training under your belt or anything like that. It's just kind of sharpening the tool a little bit at a time.
Yeah, definitely. I kept telling people like I don't think really I think the reason why I got faster is not because I, did more training, but it was because I executed better in my racing strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then tell me about your recovery and how you kind of developed that system over those, especially on the back end when you were racing so much back to back.
Yeah, so right after my last race of the day, I do my warm down. And after that, I hop onto the massage table and I like to get a flush. And after that, I have, nutrition, review, have dinner or lunch or whatever the time of the day is. And then like to foam roll, stretch when I'm in my hotel room and just um, relax. And if it's a meet in the morning, in the afternoon, I like to also go out for a walk and just to move my legs a little bit, but not overkill them and just get some fresh air. I always think I love to walk. I love going on walks. And I think that definitely helped, especially during that 6 week bubble when we're stuck inside so often. I like to just go out and just be outside, get some sun, even though the sun wasn't out that often, but like it's nice just being outside. I like being outside, and I think I slowly incorporate that into my recovery routine. Um, and if I get the chance, I like to also swim out in our hotel pool, um, and just to see. I really listen to my body and see what it needs and what I need to do to make myself feel better.
Nice. And I'm again in a similar vein. I'm guessing as you get more dialed in, as you move through the bubble more, you can kind of listen to your body a bit better, or get more in tuned of what you might need.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Are you someone I know the rooms where, everyone had their own room, and I'm guessing in that way you might have spent, a little more time by yourself than a normal meet situation. Are you someone who enjoys that alone time?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm an introvert. So I like spending time alone in my room, like reading, going on Netflix or whatever. But also we each team has their own team room. And so after dinner, like we like to go to our team room to either watch ISL, watch the other matches, or some people brought Switch, so we've been playing like Mario Kart, Jackbox, and it was really fun. Like I'm glad that we had our own team room area where we can just hang out and just talk or play or do whatever and be with the team. So I had the freedom to either be in my room or like hang out with my teammates, and I think I had a good balance of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So switching to the more swim nerd side, did you ever swim 500 free in college?
Never, not even once.
Not even once.
Yeah.
But ISL, different story.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Before the first meet, James and Tom, the two coaches, they said, "Oh, we might need you to some events that you're not used to, like either the 2 IM or the 4 free." And I was like, "Oh, I haven't been training IM since after college, so
okay.
I would not like to swim the 2 IM." And they're like, "Okay, maybe the 4 free, but you don't have to swim it every time." And I was like, "Okay, okay, yeah, I could do that." And then after the first meet, they just put me in all five other meets as well. So yeah, it was quite an experience.
I'm still amazed. How did you never swim the 500 free at Michigan once?
I think there were a few times I was so close from swimming it at dual meets, but then we always do this thing called sudden change at dual meets where you think you're swimming this event, but then the coaches last minute would switch it up. So they switch up other people, so then I would have to cover for them. So I actually never got to swim the 5 free. Yeah.
Wow. Did you ever swim the 400 IM?
Not in college, but when I was younger, like 13, I used to do the yeah.
Wow. Okay. Um, that's I'm a little amazed by that. But so you swam the 400 free, you swam the 100 free, you swam the 200 free. No 200 IM though in ISL.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of done with the 2 IM after college. Yeah, I like freestyle more.
um, so what was your experience with the 400 free? Did that change you at all?
Um, it's definitely a very hard event to swim. Um, I think the first time I did it, I didn't really know what to expect, so I was a little bit more fearless. So I didn't know how painful you would feel at the end. And I was not expecting that. So then I think um, as I swam it more, I was just like, after, 200 or 250 during the race, I was thinking like, oh, the pain is about to come. The pain's about to come. So I was kind of expecting the pain. But I think that also made me prepare it a little better. I swam it 6 times, and I think I swim it differently every time because I really didn't know what was the best way for me to swim it. But no, it was a fun experience, and I think it helps with my 200 free long course, especially because I definitely need the endurance to come back in the last 50. So as like a training meet, I wouldn't mind swimming the 4 free again, maybe not 6 times, but I definitely think it helps. It helps with the it helps with the 2 free. Yeah.
And with that makes sense. Is was there a racing moment, or I guess just a race that stood out to you that season? That was like, all right, this was a good one, or maybe this was not so good.
One that really stood out was I think there are actually two probably. The first one would be the 4x1 free relay. that energy standard broke, well, swam faster than the world record time.
Right, broke the
Yeah. Because I don't think I would ever break a world record on a relay, especially with Hong Kong. So that was pretty cool, and I got to do it with Sarah, Femke, and Pranil. So it was a really surreal moment, and we didn't even know we did it until after the race, and we all got our clothes and we were walking back to the warm down pool, and someone said, "Oh, you guys broke the world record!" And we looked at the scoreboard and we saw a world record, and that was the moment we knew. So it was it was really surreal, especially when you were not expecting that. Um, and it was just like a cool thing to tell people, like, oh yeah, I swam faster than the world record, but it doesn't count as a world record, but it was still really fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed that race. And then the second one I think would be the two free at the finals. Um, because I didn't really have a great 100 free that morning, and well, that day, and it really made, like, I really had to focus on my next race, which was the two free, and not think too much about what went wrong in the 100 free. And that shift in mindset, like, I was really proud that I did that. Um yeah, and I was really tired before the two free. I just, like, wasn't in the best racing mindset, but I'm glad I was able to, bring myself back and focus, and then swim a best time in the two free. I think that was also very memorable.
Yeah. I don't think I've asked anyone this, but I remember thinking it just about every match that I watched, which was all of them. The 100 free and the 200 free were on the same day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What was your thoughts on that?
When I first saw the schedule, I was thinking, why would they do that? Why would you put 100 and 200 free at the same day? But it is what it is, and I guess it's just like, I just treat it as training. Like, we're doing race pace sets where you get, 45 minutes or however much time you get in between two races. And if they get to change one thing from the lineup next year, hopefully don't put the 100 and 200 together. But yeah, you know.
Gotcha. So I mean, in takeaways from your second ISL season now, obviously a very unique and completely different experience, especially from season one. But yeah, you get back home to Hong Kong and you've had a little bit of time to sit with that experience. What have you taken away from it?
Um, I think this ISL season made me realize that I'm I'm at where I need to be right now. Like, in terms of training wise, I have put into hard work and I'm seeing results. And so I think if I keep up with what I'm doing right now, um, it will lead me to where I want to be. And also really uh, made me realize how important post race recovery is, um, especially at ISL where you race like 2, 3, 4 events in 2 hours. Like, how you recover from all of that is really important, because if you don't do your recovery, it'll definitely affect you the next day or even the next like 3, 4 matches. Um, so I would hope that I kind of nail down what I need to do after every meet. And also how you recover in between races as well. That's also important. I know ISL is a little different, where you swim more in a session than you normally do at like the Olympics or World Champs, but it's so important to recover in between races. And like, what are you going to do? What are you going to drink? How much are you going to warm down? How much time do you have? Are you going to put on a new suit? Like, there's a lot to think about in between races. So I think I definitely learned a lot through this whole experience.
Yeah. And so that just kind of, I'm thinking about this in the context of the Olympic Games coming up. Uh, are you pretty set on the 100 and 200 free as your individual events?
Yeah, definitely the 100 and 200 free. I have the B cut in the 50, and I don't think I'm too far off the A cut. I don't know if I'm going to swim that, but we'll see, because that's after the 100 and 200 free. So yeah, if I qualify, then maybe I'll swim it. But yeah, definitely the 100 and 200.
Nice. And no 200 IM.
No, or the 4 free.
They're cut.
Yeah.
All right. So in the moving forward in these next couple months, you continuing to prepare, obviously a little bit of uncertainty with how long you will be in lockdown. But what are you looking forward to? And do you have any kind of concrete or non-concrete plan heading forward?
Not a lot of plan. The only thing I know that I will be going is the Olympics, if that's happening. But we're trying to at least go to some one or two meets before the Olympics, if that's possible. We're trying to organize swim meets in Hong Kong. I know. Well, we had a few of them, but they all got canceled. Especially now that public pools are closed. We're trying to see if we can go to some international meets like Mare Nostrum. But nothing is certain. Everything's up in the air. It really depends on the situation. So right now I'm just training and hoping that, there's a meet that I can go to soon.
Yeah. Well, Siobhan, I appreciate you taking the time out of your weekend to sit down and talk with me. Any parting thoughts before we sign off?
Not really. Just thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.